In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Greeting the beautiful, beautiful students of the Demand for Separations United College students with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu Alaikum. On behalf of the Parents Engagement Alliance, we've been connecting and doing some great things. And today we are going to do another crowning event that is not a point of contention, but actually something that we think will be something that you will live on for the rest of your lives remembering. And as we were discussing just recently in a conversation, hopefully this will create in all of you the desire to create a university where the master teacher is the center of your academic endeavors. The master teacher of this class is the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Fard Muhammad. And Minister Farrakhan said it is those two hands that formed him. And we need their guidance to in fact understand how to navigate through this thing called college. So with the intentions to really increase your devotion to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but also to give you guidance on how to navigate in your endeavors to really be future leaders for this world, for the new world order, because we know as one world is going out, a new world order is coming in. And the baby nation that the whole world didn't think much of, we will be what the world revolves around. And it will be you that will lead that call to the people. So today we have a very special guest with us to open up our first enrollment in the Master Teachers class, student Rashid Muhammad. And at this time, I'm going to have Sister Dawn do the introduction bio to our brother Shahid. Everyone just give him a nice round of applause. Praise be to Allah. Sister Dawn?
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So Brother Shahid Muhammad is a 25-year-old FOI who was born and raised in the Nation of Islam. He's an active FOI in Washington, D.C., and he graduated from college in 2016 from Morgan State University with a cumulative GPA of 3.78 with a BS degree in electrical engineering with a concentration in power and energy. He's currently working as a distribution engineer in Washington, D.C., and is the co-owner of a developing multifaceted engineering technology company in which he is designing and constructing real solution-based technology to help solve some of the major problems facing underdeveloped communities. His YouTube channel is called Shahid the Scientist, and he is an author working on his first book in which he'll be proving many overlooked aspects of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad strictly from a scientific perspective. So we welcome Brother Shahid Muhammad.
Yes, all right, so you all, class is in session. I want everyone to have their pens and paper to take notes, to write questions that you may want to ask Brother Shahid. Class is in session. It's all yours, Brother Shahid.
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Just first want to say that it's a great honor for me to be invited onto this incredible program called the Master's Class. And I want to open up saying that, with conviction that I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. I further bear witness with conviction that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is Allah's messenger, his living and exalted Christ, and that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is their divine reminder and Messiah in our midst. So as Sister Odetta mentioned, this is the Master's Class, and I am not the master, but inshallah, I want to lift the master teacher and the master teacher in our midst, because that is really key to our success and to the development and the furtherance of all humanity. So as we know, our Busta Rhymes just dropped a song titled Master Fard Muhammad. And in that song, he dropped a line saying, swag gave birth to millions like Master Fard Muhammad. So the first begotten of the dead who Master Fard Muhammad came to resurrect is the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is the eternal leader of the Nation of Islam. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was made a master teacher, and his most disciplined student, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, has also grown into a master teacher in our midst. So as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the eternal leader, of the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the eternal door to the Nation of Islam. He is the eternal door to the kingdom of God, and truly, he is the key to the salvation of all humanity. So if we look in the Bible, in the book of John, chapter 10, verse 7, it states, "Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep." In verse 9, it states, "I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture." So we know that a door is a gateway. It's a point of entrance from one area into another distinguished area. So what I'm proposing here is that the Jesus that is being referred to in the book of John is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because he is the door and the gateway to heaven because of what he represents, that his way and his life, his way and his life is the methodology of attaining heaven. So we know that heaven and hell are two conditions of life on earth derived from a state of mind and from the actions that we take. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan represents the pinnacle of righteous conduct. His life has been a perfect example of true unrelenting love, of sacrifice, continued service to others, endurance under trials, and complete commitment and devotion towards what is right. So through him and through his way, through his example, is the opportunity for all of us to build heaven on earth for ourselves. And if all of humanity would follow his way, then we could build the kingdom of God on earth. So right now, humanity is in chaos, not because of a lack of intellect or a lack of material resources, but humanity is degenerating because of the moral decay that is ubiquitous. So we're going to get back to the morality later, because I do believe that that is the most pivotal point. But before that, I want to open up in discussing our role in the demand for separation. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has oft repeated stating that this is the best generation that we have ever produced since being on the shores of America. And we have to recognize that that is our potential, a potential that we must fulfill, and remember that we only have this opportunity to take the Nation of Islam to the next level, the opportunity to take the struggle for freedom, justice, and equality toward closer attainment, the opportunity to advance the progression of humanity further because of the generations before us that did their part in the continuum. And now we must do ours. We cannot afford to make the same mistakes that generations previously made, because we have been blessed with the opportunity to inherit, the opportunity to learn from the previous generation's mistakes. So we are all the beneficiaries of those who came before us, and we should live our life cognizant of that. So since our people have been without freedom, justice, and equality for so long, we have forgot what justice looks like. We have forgot what it feels like to be free and to be equal. So as a remedy to this, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us the true image of freedom and justice many decades ago with the Muslim program. And point number 4, what the Muslims want, this is actually a depiction of true justice through reparations and separation. But as you all already are aware, as I watched some of the other sessions you all have, you all are already, I'm aware that you students are already aware that separation is the best and only problem, the best and only solution to the problem, the conflict between white and black here in America. So what is our role in the demand for separation as college students? And I believe that our role in the demand for separation is to be the implementation of that demand. And when we fulfill that role for the demand for separation, we will have justified our existence by taking the Nation of Islam to the next level, which is the responsibility of every generation. Our responsibility is implementation. So one of the primary ways we must prepare ourselves for implementation of that is by gaining the proper education that makes us competent in self-sufficiency. Then the next critical step is that we must actually apply our knowledge into reality in a unified action by building systems and infrastructures and institutions that will build a new and a better world. And most importantly, we must purify ourselves from the selfish, immoral, corrupt ways of this world and be transformed by the renewing of our minds, by growing into the mind of God, by first submitting to his law and then learning to love God's ways, because God's way is superior. So in 1997 at Florida State University, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stated that Real education has to be the full cultivation of the human being on every level, not just intellectually, but morally, spiritually, physically. That when you are truly an educated person, then the difficulties that you face in life, you can overcome. The difficulty not with drugs or with alcohol, but with the wisdom that you have learned in your education. So therefore, based on what the minister says real education is, education should give us functional, operational knowledge and intelligence. If we want to build a separate autonomous nation, then we have to be nation builders. So we have to pick the correct major that will educate us in the fields of life in which nations are built upon. It is true that we in a nation, we have needs and wants for our nation in every category of life. But if we are going to go to college as student soldiers with the intention of extracting functional operational intelligence, then to build a prosperous nation, then all majors are not created equal. So we got to focus on nation building activities. So as Brother Dr. Ridgely said, agriculture is one of those major industries. Agriculture and STEM, to me, based off my understanding, are the predominant things that we should be focused on. Agriculture is so vital for obvious reasons due to the fact that everyone eats. And if we don't eat, then we won't be alive for much longer. So as long as we allow others to provide our basic necessities of life, such as food and water, we will always be at their mercy and under their control. So if we truly want to be free, agriculture is an unavoidable foundational aspect of every nation. Therefore, it is worthy of the dedication of some of our best minds. And as we know, STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we are taught in Islam that Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam. Mathematics is the language of God, the language in which the universe is built upon. The word quantize means to quantize something is to put it in numbers. So mathematics is really the quantization of everything, of reality. And when we do this, then this enables us to then precisely determine the exact amount of a particular thing, to measure distances, to determine the exact proportions of relationships. And fundamentally, math enables us with the ability to calculate or determine things that haven't yet happened. Calculation is very important. Without mathematics, we cannot calculate or we can't project anything into the future. So now let's look at STEM and let's look at science. In the Nation of Islam, we are taught that God himself is the greatest scientist. From my understanding, science is a methodology, meaning that it is a special approach or procedure for accomplishing something. If we look at the definition, some of the multiple definitions of science, and we construct those all together, then science is a systematic study based on observation and experimentation in which a body of truths or facts are established and the operation of general laws are shown. So that methodology is key for us and is really the methodology of God. Technology in STEM, technology is the application of science in creating tools with practical purposes, and engineering focuses on utilizing science and mathematics to design and build technology. So we should all remember that science is not the creation of the white man, because we know this because you don't build pyramids all over the earth in ancient societies without an extreme proficiency in mathematics and science. So science and mathematics is our genetic inheritance that we as a people must run back to so that we can restore our previous glory and become productive. So in studying electrical engineering at Morgan State, with that major, I had to take a lot of different math courses. So I took Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, differential equations, statistics. I took some physics courses, chemistry courses, and even a little bit of biology. But mathematics is the key, I believe, which enables us to decode all the other courses, because in reality, everything is related, and mathematics helps you decode every subject. So within sciences, we have, as I stated, physics, chemistry, biology. We have different classifications, but we should go into college with the intent of learning in an operational way. So we don't want to, even though you specify, you make a distinct classification in sciences, because classification enables mastery. When you really are functionally operational in real life, you have to deal with all these different disciplines interconnected, right? So anybody who studies biology will bear witness to the fact that biology is systematic chemistry. Chemistry is the study of the composition and interactions of atoms, elements, and molecules, right? So if it was a real life event and there was an asteroid coming to hit the Earth, physicists would calculate the mass, the energy, the momentum, and the destructive power of that asteroid. But the chemists would look at it more precisely to see what it's made out of, what material is this asteroid composed of. But if we go even deeper into the science, then what is chemistry except for the interaction between elements, which is done based off of basic electrical charges, right? So an electron has a negative charge, a proton has a positive electrical charge. So chemistry deals with ionic bonding, covalent bonding, and this basically is electricity. So in a lecture titled "Who Was God" by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that electricity is the most mysterious force because no one knows its origin. So I always like to think that as an electrical engineer, my study in that particular major taught me to think about and approach science knowing the interconnectedness of all things, knowing that the basis of interactions between atoms is dealing with electricity. And I think that's very important for us to approach school and even particularly the STEM field like that, because if we want to be operational, we got to think outside of the box that the American educational system is built upon, because all their educational system is only designed to educate you to a point where you become operational in their pre-existing structure. So you are taught to think inside of a box where you are educated at a level where you graduate just to get a job for them and you never build anything for yourself. But when you understand the fundamentals of things, then you have the ability to create beyond the box that they give to you, right? So as student soldiers who go into college, we want to gain functional operational knowledge and competence. If we want to implement our demand for separation, we have to know the science, of water purification, the science of electrical generation, and all the different disciplines of engineering, right? So we can't be, as the minister stated above, and what I read before, we have to be cultivated in every aspect of life to be operational. So we don't want to be a nation of talkers. We want to be the implementation of that in which we talk about. Talking and educating is very important, especially in the inception of a thing, because we know in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But eventually the Word became flesh, it became real, it became tangible. So we're going to college so that we can back up and implement all of the things that we talk about, the things that we say, the things that we desire. We want to make it real. That's really our role and our purpose for going to college, to get an education, right? So if we truly want to, trying to think, best way to say this. So after we do that, the best way to implement the substantial knowledge that we gained, the best way to utilize that is to produce and develop functional perpetual systems and infrastructure and institutions, right? So an institutions are more powerful than charismatic individuals. When we gain the knowledge that we learn from college, if you go to college to become a neuroscientist or a chemist or a civil engineer, we want to then gain or gather with people of like-mindedness so that we can build a business structure, so that we can implement real tangible solutions to change the condition of our people in our communities, right? So that's why, that's why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan set up the 9 ministries and said that the 9 ministries were the answer to our ancestors' prayers. And in those 9 ministries, there's areas for everybody to work out in and be themselves. We have the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Information, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Trade and Commerce, the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Arts and Culture, and the Ministry of Science and Technology. So in truth, when we build these businesses, these institutions, these systems and structures, we can then propel the nation to the next level, and we can create something that can really and truly outlive us and outlive any individual. And that's what it's all about, is providing something for the next generation coming after us that will be long lasting and that will be substantial. So so that's the way I see college and education, the role of it and how we can implement it on one scale or one side via education. But I think even more importantly than that is the fact that we're trying to implement the kingdom of God, right? That's our goal for separation. So if we still think like the American system of thinking, the Western world, then we're thinking like Satan. So even if we were to separate and have a land of our own, and we still had the same thoughts, then we wouldn't do anything except reproduce that same nation of America. We would just build another America. So the difference between the kingdom of God and the satanic world that we currently live in is the righteous conduct and the morality, the virtue. Allah's way is not like the ways of this world, and that is very important. That's really critical and fundamental, even more than intellect, because I think, as I said earlier, the world is not suffering from a lack of intellect. There's plenty of scientists in every category of life. It is our corrupt morals which is bringing down the condition of the world. So we look at America. In the Declaration of Independence, it says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." So we know that America has always spoken good words, but America has not had the heart to invoke this, to enact these principles on all of the inhabitants living in the country and all the citizens, right? So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stated in 1997 at Florida State University, the University of Florida State, that if the government is strong in the pursuit of the protection of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all of her citizens, then that government has a chance for perpetuity. He further stated that we live in a world that has seen the constant rise and fall of nations. They rise on the basis of certain principles that they follow, and they fall on the basis of certain principles that they violate. So if we want eternal life, if we want perpetuity, then we have to be rooted on certain foundational principles morally, because as the minister teaches us, intelligence without character makes human beings devils. Therefore, righteousness is actually the practice that optimizes a civilization and gives that nation perpetuity. Right? So we, as our system of righteousness, we have something called the restrictive law of Islam, which is really key to our success. So I think in going to college, this is foundationally is the key to our success, and something that we must be strong in if we want to survive the daunting, challenging environment that college is. So I think the key to understanding the restrictive law of Islam is understanding the word paradox, right? So the word paradox is a word that means something that is seemingly absurd or self-contradictory, something that seems like a contradiction, but after looking into it further, after further investigation, it is proven to be true. So the restrictive law of Islam, the restrictions, a law, a seemingly limiting thing, is truly actually, after further investigation, it is our pathway to actual freedom. It is our gateway to true power and true happiness. Because the fact that in order to grow and develop and cultivate the human potential that we all have within, we must engage in strict disciplined action. We have to impose on ourselves a disciplined regimen of restrictions, right? So an example of that is, if we want to be physically strong, then we have to impose a strict workout regimen. If we want to be at the best physical peak, then we have to deny ourselves the bad foods, and we got to eat the right foods. So so therefore, the freedom that you want from being as beautiful as you can be, the freedom that you want from being as strong as we desire to be, that is attained through self-imposed restrictions, right? So this principle of this paradox of restriction is applicable in every avenue of life, especially in the spiritual, definitely in the intellectual, right? We go to college to attain knowledge, and the only way to do that is by putting yourself on a strict, disciplined study regimen, right? So you can't have, so it seems like, you may be limiting yourself in that moment, that you're not spending time willy-nilly, that you're not hanging out with your friends or going to this party or doing that. But in that act of restriction, you are ultimately enabling yourself the truest freedom that you could have down the road, because you're qualifying yourself to become more powerful through intelligence. So that is truly our gateway to true freedom, is this paradox of the restrictive law of Islam. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that the essence of divine law is love. The goal to which the law leads, if properly applied, is love. And that is why, so the restrictive law of Islam is our success, and it is actually out of love that God imposes on us these restrictions, right? So in the Bible, in Romans chapter 6, verse 23, it says, "For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord." So when we engage in sin and breaking the restrictive law of Islam, anytime we do that, we have therefore engaged in self-destructive behavior. That's why the law is there, because it's actually a law in love, not to limit you or negate you, but to make you the best version of yourself. So when you engage in sin by breaking that law, you are engaging in some behavior that is self-destructive. So more specifically, to get into, like, the real talk college section of this is reminds me of what Brother Dr. Wesley said when he was on this program, when he used the word ambivalence. That was a new word to me that I had to look up. The ambivalence culturally in the Nation of Islam in sending our children to college is mixed feelings, because while there is a lot of good in it, the environment is so dangerous that it can become counterproductive. That if you go there as a Muslim and you come out other than a Muslim, then what's the point, of sending our children, to college? So for me, this is college. Even though I was successful in college and I accomplished all my goals, I graduated in 4 years. I did so attaining very good grades and gaining a lot of applicable knowledge. I know it was very difficult, the environment, because, you feel like you're striving to be a Muslim, and everything in the college environment is contrary to really all the restrictive laws of Islam. Every single one is broken, and that's established as the normative. Breaking the law that you want to live by, that's normal in the college environment and really, in this world. So therefore, when you're striving to be an example of that law, or to fulfill it to the best of your ability, you're looked at as crazy or as odd, and that's a significant trial in and of itself. So as Brother Salih mentioned when he was on the show, colleges in reality, colleges in America are cesspools, of degenerate behavior, and temptation, to break all the restrictive Islam, all the laws of restrictive Islam, all the restrictive laws of Islam every day. So, smoking and drinking and fornication is the norm, right? So the trials are severe, but you do have the ability to overcome if we are strong in Allah, right? So different trials present different challenges to different people. But, we got to keep it real so that this can be beneficial. We know that because of the nature of our creation, that a trial like fornication, that is Satan manipulating you in your straight path, because naturally, men are going to be attracted to women and women are going to be attracted to men. So that trial specifically is very daunting in the college environment when it is positioned as the norm, right? So I think the best way to, so now that we've established that the restrictive law of Islam is our success and that breaking and deviating from that law is self-destruction, I think it is important for us to know our supreme value, which gives us a greater self-love, which stops us from engaging in self-destructive behavior, right? So I think just in that law specifically, I think it's important for us to know our divine value, right? So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that God is self-created, that in the beginning there was a material darkness that was without form and purpose, and therefore was a void. But the originator, God, willed himself into existence through his desire and determination to be. So this unrelenting desire is the most powerful force in all of existence. And today we know that force to be called love. So this first originator went to war with the darkness and created himself. And after self-creation, his first act was not to create the sun, the moon, or the stars. His first act of creation was to recreate himself in another form, right? And this second form this second self of God was a perfect complementary form to his first form. And therefore, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the woman is the second self of God. And we know that in the Quran, it says that Allah created the male and the female from the same essence. So Allah, the originator, he loved this second form, loved and admired this second form so much that he modeled the rest of creation after her. So in 1990, in his speech, How Education is Destroying the Minds of the Youth, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan states that, woman, if you only knew who you are, you would never allow yourself to be degraded again in this life. If you knew who you were, God gives the whole of creation the feminine gender, she. The universe is she. The sun is she. The moon is she. Let's look at her a minute. Now that womb out there called space, God used his womb, his wisdom over the womb of space to manifest his glory out of that womb, right? So we know that the Native Americans, they call the planet Mother Earth. The continent of Africa is affectionately known as the motherland, and people always refer to their native country or a great ship as she. So the nature of the universe, most of the universe was built after the second self of God, the feminine attribute. So with that being said, looking at it from that perspective, if all life is sacred, if the sun is sacred, if the moon is sacred, then to say that the woman is sacred is really an understatement. You would have to say that sacredness itself is modeled after the woman. So I think it's important for us to know it and to know these things and to look at it from this perspective, because when you know your supreme and your divine value, then that makes you want to be the best version of yourself and want to not engage in activity which is self-destructive. So that's the bulk of what I had to say. I'm really prepared for, because I know that I believe what I shared is the main points that we have to internalize in our quest for the implementation for the demand of separation, because it comes from us implementing it. It comes from us actually going through all the endogenous struggles and trials that it takes to cultivate us, in any challenging environment. Education is difficult. To go into college and pick a challenging major like chemistry or any of the engineerings or mathematics is difficult in and of itself, but the college environment makes it even more difficult. But we got to know that you can do it, right? Just because there's temptation doesn't mean that you have to submit to that, right? So you can overcome any temptation as long as we are strong in Allah and we're strong in our foundation. So I think that one thing we should all know fundamentally is that all the students on here is that you are loved, and you should know that your righteousness and your hard work, it doesn't go unrewarded, that your righteousness will sustain you. You can succeed and you will succeed when we're determined. So you have a lot of people, you have an entire nation really, and you have God supporting you, backing you up and defending you. You got to know that you can succeed in every trial that college will present. So the ambivalence is there because I know how hard it is, but at the same time, I know how rewarding college was. I know all the great people that I met, and I know how great my college experience was in the cultivation of myself intellectually and as a human being overall by overcoming a lot of the challenges that college presents. So you all definitely can be successful. So that's how I saw it. And that's the bulk of what I wanted to share, and the way I perceive our responsibility in our generation to be the implementation of our demand for separation.
Oh my goodness, I'm so just overjoyed, Brother Shahid, with your presentation. Can we all just take ourselves off mute just to give him a nice round of applause that he can hear and feel? Get yourselves off mute for a second if you can. He can see it. All right. Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
You made your mama proud. We're gonna have to send her the recording of this, because representing the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as a college graduate in STEM is just what you said earlier, Brother Shahid, the answer to our ancestors' prayer of sending our children through the college experience to be able to build a new reality, not the same reality in a different era, but a new reality of freedom, justice, and equality that sits on the morality that you just described to the students. So what a beautiful representation. I know if Minister Farrakhan was to hear this, he would just be so pleased. As he once described, he was coming down the mountain and he looked back and he said he saw the college students and he said he was at peace. So praise be to Allah. Thank you for your representation. Now, students, I pray that you were paying attention to what he said. And I'm going to open it up, if you don't mind, Brother Shahid, to any questions that you all may have. I know you should have some questions for him as it relates just to the idea of the STEM and the idea of the 9 ministries that we're embarking on. What kind of questions came to your mind? What was your takeaway? And do you have a question from your takeaway from what he presented in the master's teachers class?
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sister Ayana, and I plan to major in agriculture when I enter into college next fall. So I really appreciated how you uplifted the word in the field of agriculture as far as being a nation of Islam. One question that I have for you is, I really thank you for taking the time out to speak with us today, and I enjoyed what you talked about. I just wanted to know, what plans do you have for like your personal future as far as the Nation of Islam, and just what is your personal plan to help build a greater nation? Do you have like any plans?
Excellent.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, and that's the key, right? So I can say all these great things, but if I'm not trying to implement it myself, then that's key. So what I'm working on right now, the 2 major projects, is I have teamed up with some of the other brothers in the Nation of Islam in different cities, a brother out of New York, a brother out of Houston, and a brother out of Oklahoma. And we are putting and they are engineers as well. And one is actually just a businessman with a lot of experience, and they're engineers and our goal is to, we're building a engineering/technology company business in which we will be striving to build the real tangible solutions to some of the problems that we face in our community. So I actually dropped a video on my Instagram dealing with one of the first projects that we're doing is actually related in agriculture, in which we are designing 4 seasons greenhouses that we could sell and distribute in the communities that we live in, which will enable urban agriculture in our community. So I started growing food just in my backyard this year and seeing how, we really can grow food locally. It is possible. And we want to be able to distribute that to our people in a way that we're providing the technology for everybody to be able to do that, regardless of where you live. So you live in an apartment complex or a rural environment, this greenhouse technology should provide a tangible means for us to revitalize our communities through urban agriculture. And we also want to incorporate an educational component to that as well, in which we teach people how to grow food as well. And then, it grows and expands from there. We can set up, food markets and everything, and really start making real change in our community, because it's very difficult to get our people to think differently if we don't eat properly, right? That's all connected. So that's one project. And also I'm writing my first book right now. Brother Dr. Wesley Muhammad, he told me to write it, dealing with proving the teachings from a scientific perspective in certain categories, and particularly how to eat to live is where I want to focus on, because we live in a time now where in 2020, we can prove a lot of the things that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us from a scientific lens. So in How to Eat to Live, we can now prove that at a subcellular level, right? The way that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us is the best way to optimize the human genome, right? And we can prove that now empirically with data that has been accumulated by the scientists of this world. So I am writing that as well.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Brother Shahid, for the answer to that question. I think it was a perfect question, because I think what she's looking at is the reality of manifestation, the implementation language that you use. Thank you, Brianna, for that excellent question. Anyone else with a question for our brother? Your thinking caps should definitely be hardwired right now with millions of questions.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Bar Musai. I'm a mechanical engineering major.
Walaikum salam.
I am currently taking calculus, I think 2. And I was kind of wondering, I guess, how you got through that class. Because for me, it seems as I get higher and higher into maths, it seems a lot less like when I first started in math, it felt very logical. This equals that. I can see that kind of just by moving some objects around. But now it feels like it's getting into theories and further away from tangible.
Yes, sir. I understand. What are y'all on right now?
Right now, I think we're about to go over. I looked at it a minute ago. I think we're going over polar graphs. So we're going over graphs in the form of a circle instead of graphs in the form of a actual the XY plot.
Okay, got you. No, Calc 2 is 10 times harder than Calc 1. Calc 2 is one of the classes I remember the most because it was so hard, but that's why it was fun for me because it was so hard. I studied calculus. I remember that. I remember Calc 2 specifically because it was so much harder than Calc 1, but it's a great class. I mean, that's a great point that I think we struggle because, like I said, mathematics is definitely our genetic inheritance, the way of our ancestors. So you definitely can do it. It's just sometimes we don't have good teachers that teach it in a pragmatic way. It just feels like you're just putting numbers together and there's no reasoning for it. But I know in electrical engineering specifically, calculus is very applicable. And I'm sure the same with mechanical. So you have to stay the course, stay with it, and diversify your studying approach. You can't really study too much, and there's so many ways to go about it. I mean, because I studied Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, multivariable calculus. I mean, I'm learning this stuff on YouTube, right? So I got the book, I have my teacher, but the bulk of your study really is you by yourself working through the problems and finding out whatever method that you learn best in and keep going until you get it, really. I mean, fundamentally, YouTube was a big help for me at every level of mathematics. I remember Calc 3 the most, probably studying through YouTube, because Calc 3 was a little hard for me initially trying to visualize, the third dimension and how you're projecting out equations into that dimension. But you just got to keep going. Yeah, YouTube University, somebody writes in the comments, that's real. I mean, my degree, half of it is YouTube University. Because there's real teachers on there. You got to be, wise with YouTube. You don't want to follow any bad things on there. But I mean, once I took a test in Calc 1, in which I was studying on YouTube by watching a Harvard class teaching the same material, because calculus is calculus no matter if you're at Harvard, UCLA, or an HBCU. So after I had studied on YouTube in the Harvard class, I was mad at the quiz that I had because it was so easy. I felt like I studied so much and this course was so easy. So just keep going and diversify your approach because you definitely can do it because it's in your DNA.
Thank you.
Next question.
All right, can you hear me, Sister Odetta?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you, brother. My question I have for you is, as an electrical engineer, I don't know if you can hear the echo, but as an electrical engineer, suppose that, our flight for separation is successful, which of course is going to be successful, whether or not the white man gives it to us or whether or not we go get it, what would be the most economical way to provide, if we're in like a rural area, provide everybody with electricity?
Yes, sir. That's a phenomenal question. And the way I look at that is it depends upon the region that you're in, right? So energy is ubiquitous throughout the world. When his famous equation, E equals mc squared, that just means that energy and matter are the same thing in different forms, right? So energy, the way we extract energy in renewables is dependent upon the region, right? So if you're in the center of the country in the Great Plains, they have a lot of wind. So the most economical resource to produce electricity in that region would be a wind turbine system. depending upon the economics, right? Because economics can get complicated dealing with the nuances of businesses. But I look at energy as a regional specific thing. You know, if you're in the Pacific Northwest, via some of their the Columbia River, right, is the best region for hydroelectric power. So in the southwest of the country, in Arizona, that has some of the best solar radiation. So solar panels might be the most economical there, but I think it depends, you know, because anytime you deal with economics, then it, you know, it becomes kind of complicated. But I do think that's a great question.
Thank you. Okay, nobody's gonna go. Here's another one. All righty. So now, still on terms of separation, water, that's a big deal, right? I mean, because it's a natural resource, and although it's everywhere, it's kind of hard to find the clean water, or at least the drinkable water. So suppose that we did go to somewhere in like the middle of America, like you said, in the western parts, the Midwestern parts. How would we, you know, go about water if given the land in the middle, right? Because it's hard to find water, and of course, sewage is also another thing. How should we go about those type of things from an engineering perspective if we all had the unity and the dollars and the backing and stuff?
Yes, sir. And I think in that last part, you kind of answered it in the fact that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that our unity was more powerful than an atomic bomb, because it is what our unity, if we wanted, we could build an atomic bomb, right? We could do anything because we have the brains and the intelligence to create the solution for that which we seek. So water purification, I mean, that's a science. There's people that specialize in that. And if we have the unity, we have all the minds necessary to solve any specific nuanced problem. I mean, when you really think about, I think problems like that would just be, you know, it'd be kind of trivial almost, because it's just, there's water purification systems at various scales. Actually, Brother Tariq and Brother Jabril just interviewed a brother on their channel. I believe his name is Moses West, in which he works for the United States, previously worked for the US military, I believe, in which he created an atmospheric water generator where he literally pulls clean water out of thin air, literally, right? Because he's pretty much just creating an artificial form of condensation, I believe, like the natural water cycle that we all learn when we're young. He just produces an artificial system to expedite that, right? Or to artificially invoke that. So the minds are here to solve any nuanced science problem that we have. I mean, that's why science and intelligence in general is not our main problem. It's really a spiritual problem, because when we come together and recognize the necessity for unity, we'll solve all these other problems almost immediately, the way I look at it. That's why in point number 4, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he makes a bold claim to the government saying that they should provide for us for 20 to 25 years. And if we're not self-sustainable after that, then they could come with their military and mow us down, because he's saying within one generation, he could turn the whole thing around, because he knows what we'll be capable of when we receive justice. We will be totally independent and self-sufficient.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Absolutely
I had
beautiful.
a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I heard you talking about the hard skills like STEM majors or agriculture and whatnot. But what about the students that choose not to go into the STEM majors, but they still want to have a impact on their society or the nation once they graduate college? Because I know myself, I'm a social work major, and although I didn't choose to go into like the STEM aspect, I still feel as though that with my major, I can really have an impact on my community when I graduate.
Yes, ma'am. You definitely can. I think one of the best examples of that is brother Dr. Wesley Muhammad. I mean, he didn't go into college with a STEM major, yet look at him now. He writes books dealing with all types of different levels of science. And even if he didn't, right, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is not a STEM major, but he still has impacted the world. So, no, your major does not define you, and it does not determine your ability to impact your community or your success. You determine that. And there's nothing more powerful than the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that's self-evident based off the students that he's produced that have changed the whole world. And he is producing more and more world-changing students every day. So with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, there's nothing that you can't do. So I don't ever want to give the impression that you have to major in STEM, because you don't. You know, if you want, whatever you seek to do, you can do. Yeah, that's all right.
Absolutely. And as I've explained, that all falls under the Ministry of Health and Human Resources. So, you know, when we look at the 9 ministries, as he spoke about the 9 ministries, we see the value of each and every one of the majors that in fact is represented by the 9 ministries, as he mentioned. So thank you for that input on the 9 ministries. As we embark on internships, Brother Shahid, with the college students, where they are now linked with members of the Nation of Islam that represent the 9 ministries. So thank you for highlighting its value. And I pray that you all understand the value of how being tied to the 9 ministries will keep you morally in check, but also in the implementation and the reality of what Brother Shahid is speaking on. Absolutely. Any other questions? Thank you, Sister Sanalis.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Brother Abdul.
Yes, ma'am. So in terms of separation, right? Because that's the main point of everything, and the ultimate end all be all. Knowing that we have really never had unity the way that we ought to have it, and eventually that it is going to come, and especially with the teachings, knowing that we always say they'll be coming in multitudes when it's all said and done, when the sugar honey iced tea hits the fan. As youth who are in a position, some of us, and as youth that are growing in a position that we can actually start doing something to impact everybody, would you suggest or say, as far as from the engineering aspect, that we should start doing certain things as far as getting land, which I know you would agree to get land, but in terms of building certain societies, like of course that place in Georgia with the 90 acres, would you suggest that we start doing those types of things, start slowly growing a place for us to come when we do come in multitudes?
Yes,
or
sir.
is it like we should really kind of wait, for the unity aspect?
Right. No, I don't think we should be waiting for anything. In the sense that we look at us being student soldiers. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has instructed us to do a lot of different things. And acquire land, do for self, revitalize our community are some of those things. So we don't need to wait for anything. Everything happens in stages and developments. We know that Allah is Rabbil Alameen, one who nourishes unto perfection stage by stage. So we can't wait for something that we don't know when it's coming, right? So we got to be able to provide for ourselves as soon as possible. So we want to start working now. You can't, if you have an idea of something, of a vision, you don't have to wait until you graduate or get a degree to start doing that. You should start working on it right away, write it down, and then start making moves to manifest it into reality. If we look at the method of manifestation, the key to success in every category of life is the same thing. It's first you have an idea, a vision. You then have to have the faith that you can actually execute and make that vision a reality. Then you make a specific plan on how to do that. And then you begin executing, you make adjustments, and you have perseverance. And then out of that work, that energy applied, then you have the realization of your vision and of your goals. So I think, we definitely shouldn't wait for anything. We need to go forth and make everything that we talk about real together in a unified way. That's the only way we can do it. But just, build with people with like-mindedness. You ain't got to wait for every single person to say that they bear witness that there is no God but Allah, because we don't even know what the full manifestation of that looks like, and what time period that is.
I agree. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Shahid. This is brother Salim. First of all, I just want to thank you for sharing what you shared with us today. And I'm very grateful to be here. I have a question about my major. I'm going to be entering college, inshallah, next fall. I plan to go into mechatronics engineering, which is a combination of electrical, mechanical, telecommunications, and systems engineering. But I also have a desire to go into agriculture and horticulture. So my question is, when I go into the college environment, what should my focus be? Should I be going into engineering and then study horticulture outside of college? Or my question is, what should I utilize that college environment for?
Yes, sir. Did you you already got accepted into university?
Oh no, I just finished my application.
Okay. Well, I say the way I look at it is we all because we got to remember that we are not our majors, right? Your identity is God, right? That's who you are. So we are multifaceted in our abilities and our desires. But in order to become a master, because we don't, and as I say this, I'm striving to practice it myself. You don't want to become a jack of all trades. You want to become a master in everything that you do, but that does require specification for a period of time. So there's nothing wrong with doing both and becoming a master in both. It just would take a certain time period allocated to mastering one particular thing at a time, right? So if you go to, that's an incredible degree. So I would say go to college, get that degree, study on that topic, master it, focus on it, and then, then after you master that, move on to whatever else you want to do. And, when you're in college, I mean, you're learning, you have general courses and studies. So there's always time, you always have some free time and downtime to learn whatever you want. I mean, you're the master of your own reality. We are the gods of our own reality. So you definitely can arrange your schedule to master as many things as you would like. Just know the requisite time needed in order to accomplish that. So with a big major like that, most of your time would be allocated toward the courses of study in your major. And that is a good thing to do.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I have one more question. What did you do once you graduated college? Like, what type of job did you get?
The first job I had was in systems integration on paper, but the thing about these jobs is they're just going to waste your time. You're not, in truth, you're not, most people, right? The first internship, I had 2 internships in college in which I was at NASA, Goddard in Greenbelt, Maryland. And that was pretty cool, right? You get to see real spaceships and you're working on like some pretty cool stuff. But the first job I had was, it was dealing with systems integration and I really didn't do anything. So I was at work learning about like geopolitics and other things like that. The job I have now is dealing with like power distribution and how to get electrical service from the transformer, secondary service from the transformer to, a residence or a company. But we really shouldn't put too much faith and energy in striving to have a continued career in a system in a world that's coming down. Like most of the thoughts I have is how can I build a successful business for myself, working with my people to make, everything that we just said on this call an actual reality.
All right, we're going to take time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. Brother Shafi, I see your hand.
Assalamu alaikum.
Like Salam, sir.
I attend Jackson State University, and my major is physics. And this question has to do more so along the line of like being at the university. And so you said that we need to be grounded in our Islam and our righteousness when we go back and attend these universities. And so do you have any suggestions for things that we should do in order to do that? And also, since I go to HBCU, like how can we like connect with our brothers and sisters there, like with the teachings of the nation, and especially with the times that we're in with COVID and stuff like that?
Yes, sir. So I think one thing is definitely know that you're not, even though sometimes you may feel like you're alone, but you're really never alone. Always the best way to stay grounded and rooted is first to know the teachings, right? We got to constantly be learning and studying, and then, work and then try to connect with other Muslims, that are there, because there probably are some either Muslims that are just general Muslims, or maybe some believers in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as well. That is key. But I think just staying strong, because there's going to be a natural amount of pain and difficulty in anything that's of value. So you got to know that going in, that it's not totally going to be easy, but you can overcome it. So I would say just be disciplined with your time and protect yourself by not putting yourself in dangerous environments. And also be a leader, because when you are strong in your Islam, you will stand out because you don't think like other people. You see things from different perspectives, and eventually, people might think you're, eventually people will look up to you when they see your works, and you will be the person that people want to emulate and strive to be like. So everybody's college experience is different. Toward the end of what they actually, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan came to my school while I was there in 2014, November 22nd. So I had a chance to meet him and everything. And after that, that had a really big impact on me personally. And after that, I did a lot of work with the students in regards to, the teachings or just being active in general and trying to improve the college condition of the students there and trying to educate people by whatever means I had. And then the next year after that, my senior year, the beginning, we had Justice Farrell. So I was able to bring me with the help of Brother Jalil Muhammad, who the minister instructed to help out the college students from around the nation, and the different SGA people. We were able to bring some buses of students down to the mall on the day 10/10/15. But before that, before the minister came, I really wasn't active like that on campus. I was just studying by myself, right? So I would say you don't have to necessarily go into college. If you're going there to learn physics, that's more than sufficient, right? You don't have to go there to strive to be like, a great student, to try to, be the SGA president or anything like that. But if you want to, you can, you can, and you should know that you have the foundation to really dominate and be successful there. I mean, brothers like Salih are very impressive because Salih is grounded and rooted in the teachings, and that's why he's so strong and so powerful. So, there's a lot of examples of really powerful people, powerful students in the nation that were really impactful on their college campuses. So did that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
It's beautiful that you would mention Brother Salih, because he did speak as our keynote for one of our summits. And one of the things that he said to the students was to incorporate your teachings in each and every one of your classes, and you will be an attractive magnet. So if you look at every class that you're taking and you say to yourself, what part of this involves the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you will find yourself creating that atmosphere that says, wow, where'd you get that from? Wait, how did you correlate that with this? And so that's another suggestion that was given to you all by Brother Salih when he came on to our summit. So that was a beautiful correlation, because I thought of him the minute you asked the question, answered the question, Brother Shahid. So with that being said, if there are any more questions, we're going to have to write them out and send them to our brother, because we have definitely taken the time to be in the Master's Teachers class with a wonderful representative of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings, and Minister Farrakhan as our great leader. So students, I pray that you have some great takeaways from this course of study. I know when I think about my college career, one of the most fascinating things for me was to hear about Islam. With all the classes that I took, and I love being a student because I love to learn. But when the Nation of Islam hit our campus, it was the most exciting information. So here we have it on Zoom for you, so that you can feel that you are a part of your nation and the evolving knowledge of self that you need to have to survive in these times. I love the topic that he chose, because he started with the word our. And understanding our means collective works. We have got to understand the power of our collective works so that we can understand how your majors will be effective in the New World Order. But in order to do that, you have to, in fact, make that decision that the restrictive laws will be your success. So all praise is due to Allah, Brother Shahid. In closing, I'll leave the students with the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who said that your inheritance is the mind of God. So thank you, Brother Shahid, on behalf of the Parents Engagement Alliance. We thank you, Sister Nicola, as she's clapping her hands, Sister Anita, Sister Mecca, Sister Afwa, and myself. Students, let's give him a round of applause and a wave.
Praise be to you.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you so much. And inshallah, we will definitely be calling you back to the enrollment in the master's teachers class. Thank you, Brother Shahid.